The season 2 finale of Better Call Saul. Has someone been trailing Mike? Who left the note? Also looks like Jimmy just got conned by Chuck in an amazing way. What will this ultimate betrayal mean for Jimmy? And could this be the catalyst that finally transforms McGill into Saul Goodman? We have an entire season to talk about, so we're going to get started. We have a show packed full of exclusive interviews with the cast, including Jimmy McGill himself, Bob Odenkirk, and Michael McKean, who of course plays Chuck. My guests tonight are executive producer Peter Gould and Vince Gilligan, and the one and only Mike Ehrmantraut, Jonathan Banks. I am Chris Hardwick, and welcome to Talking Saul. We're doing this. We're just getting everything going. We want to hear from you guys. What do you want to know after watching tonight's episode or this entire season? Tweet us at Better Call Saul or call us toll-free at 844-728-5548. That's 1-844-SAUL-LIVE. And go to TalkingSaul.com/SaulGood to vote on our polls and play in our quiz. Please hello to my guests, Peter Gould, Vince Gilligan, Jonathan Banks. Welcome them. First of all, I have to thank you and congratulate you, Peter and Vince. This show is fantastic. I would swear if I could and say it is effing fantastic, but it really is, and it gets better and better and better. And watching your backstory, since we know where everyone ends up ultimately, what was season 2 like for you with Mike and everything that went down?
Why are you congratulating Peter and Vince? I mean, what? I didn't do anything there?
First of all, you brought a microphone, which is awesome.
My own mic. I bring my own microphone.
Listen, honestly, if this entire show was just you singing lounge covers, I would watch it. Yeah. I'd watch it.
Wow, well, that's an
Some enchanted evening.
No, get out of here. That's 12-year-old stuff. You go Bunny Berrigan.
Yeah, yeah.
Hoagie Carmichael.
The best.
The best. What was season 2 like for me?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, I love playing the character. And believe it or not, I trust these two guys. Maybe way too much sometimes. But, I mean, for Jonathan, it was just a joy to do it. And, you know, I love the show. I love playing my character.
But since we all know where Ehrmantraut ends up, we know in Breaking Bad, we've seen, I assume everyone's seen Breaking Bad, how does that inform, because the story that you have to tell is how do you make this character likable, or how do you make this character sympathetic? So knowing where he ends up, how has that affected your journey with Saul?
Well, I don't know how to break this to you, but I know where you end up, too.
That's true.
Ain't none of us getting out of here alive.
No. Good night! What is that was all about?
You know, Mike's been hard a long time. And to peel that back and watch how he became, the different places that he lost his soul, and obviously the greatest one being the death of his son that he's responsible for, that he feels that he's responsible for. But even past that, I like that we brought the sniper rifle in and his familiarity with it, and knowing that at one point with a wooden stock, it warped.
Yeah.
You know, Mike is rich all the way down the line. And I've always felt like I don't want to reveal too much about him, because it's nice to have your own imagination about where Mike has come from.
Yeah.
Am I answering your question at
Absolutely.
all? Yeah.
Because ultimately, what it seems is that this is a show about people who are trying to do the best they can with the skill sets they have. Yeah. And you constantly see those skill sets, like that's just kind of who they are, no matter what they're doing. That's their filter. So Vince, what is the process for you guys of navigating Mike's backstory on this and kind of getting us to there?
It's a now, you gonna let me use your microphone, or?
Your microphone works. His microphone went out. That's why we gave him the stick mic. Yeah.
We gave him a hard time.
Did you enjoy it?
Navigating Mike. Well, navigating Jonathan's one thing. Navigating Mike. You know, it's tricky with Mike and with all these characters who, as you said, we know where they wind up on Breaking Bad, and there's a lot of detail carpentry involved. There's a lot of dovetail making in the sense of we have to Mike can't go past a certain point, obviously, you know, as relates to where we know he's going to wind up on Breaking Bad. So we have to take things at a certain pace. We find it's more interesting to see Mike in the early days as someone who's not necessarily yet a stone-cold killer, who hesitates to pull that trigger, as we learn this season. He doesn't want to have to pull that trigger. He's the guy that doesn't. Even in this episode, we see him hesitate when Nacho is standing between him and his target. That's a trait that we might not see in Breaking Bad coming from Mike Ehrmantraut.
Why do you think he didn't just take out Nacho? Like, why do you think he just didn't shoot Salamanca through Nacho?
And he certainly could. I mean, that rifle would have definitely done the trick. But he is, to me, for my money, he's not, for a stone-cold killer, he's not yet a stone-cold killer. He is a guy, as we've seen last season, capable of killing 2 Philadelphia police officers, but for a very good reason. If there is a good reason for such things.
They killed my son.
Yeah, they killed your son.
But that doesn't make him stone cold yet.
No, and seeing the things that help us justify as fans, oh, that's why he's that way. He did let some people live, and then that had consequences, which you can talk about later. But Peter, how do you know, it was amazing to see, like, the Salamancas show up and to see different characters pop in from Breaking Bad. So how do you choose which ones ported back?
You know, we're telling the story of Jimmy McGill and Mike Ehrmantraut, and it's really about who is going to fit into that story, who's going to advance that particular story. If you know, we have Tuco on the show, and if Tuco gets in trouble and Mike gets Tuco in trouble, you think, well, who's going to show up from Mexico? Nobody but Tio. Nobody but Hector Salamanca is going to show up, and if Hector needs 2 stone killers, who better to bring than the cousins? And if you're going to see how Tuco's operation is going to work, maybe you got to look at Crazy 8. And it's one of the things that we love is that we get to bring back actors like Max Arcienega or especially Jim Beaver, who plays Lawson.
Yeah, he's great.
Get to bring back these actors who we loved working with, and have them hopefully advance the story in this show.
So, Vince, why does Jimmy ultimately confess to Chuck about Mesa Verde, do you think?
And did you guys hate that he did that?
Yeah. You hated that? I thought it made Jimmy so sympathetic.
Well, you know what it is?
Because he just wants to help people in the best way that he can.
I think you just nailed it, Chris. I mean, I think he did it because he loves his brother, and he saw his brother suffering. He was scared. He walks into that room, and it's surrounded by Mylar and Reynolds wrap and God knows what. And he thought, man, he's for a guy who's been past the deep end, in the deep end for a while, he's really gone into the deep end at this point. And it was a great, what seems to be at the end of it, when the tape recorder is revealed, it seemed to be a great con played on a guy who we thought was the world's greatest con man. Looks like his brother, his straight-laced brother, may be a better con man than he. But I think he did it for love of his brother.
Well, coming up, we have interviews with the cast. We have Mr. Bob Odenkirk talking about Season 3, and later Peter and Vince will tell us what to expect in that next season. We'll be right back on Talking Saul.
I think Nacho's been observing Mike, and he's realizing this man's got some kind of demons. You know, when Mike decides to get beaten up to a pulp by Tuco and almost provoking it, that's when Nacho realizes that this man, despite what he's saying, is on some kind of a self-inflicted punishment. And he quickly realizes that there's bad blood that Mike isn't willing to let go of. So already he's thinking, I hope he doesn't do anything. He says, man, just keep your cool. And then obviously Mike keeps the driver alive in a way that is provocative. Anybody in their right minds wouldn't pick a fight with the opposition to provoke the ego and start a war. And I think that's where there's a huge break between the two men.
Welcome back to Talking Saul. I'm Chris Harbert. That's Michael Mondo discussing Nacho's very intricate relationship with Mike. Just some fan reactions from some of the Easter eggs. Of course, you mentioned Jim Beaver, the cousins from Breaking Bad. But there's some ones that you guys maybe didn't necessarily notice. From Neighbor 605, the realtor from Stacy's house hunt was the same one who caught Marie stealing at open houses in Breaking Bad. Carmen, the crowd. This changes everything. Carmen Ryder, Alik says, anyone else recognize the doghouse from Breaking Bad? Jesse bought a gun there to defend himself against Tuco and salvage Chris. Kaylee's pig toy in this episode was a callback to Breaking Bad. Mike used that same pig to distract a hitman.
Yes.
So you guys, is it fun for you to just scatter those around and see who picks up on them?
It's a lot of fun. It's fun. What's our favorite of the year? You want to talk about the that's not really, is that an Easter egg? So per se, the thing with Michelle?
Oh, well, you know, we have a I don't know if
That's inside baseball.
It's an inside
But it's worth
baseball, but
talking
you know
about.
what the hell are they called?
The tartan.
The tartan. No, but it's the bagpipes. The bagpipes that Jimmy plays in episode 7 when he's
trying to get fired.
Just trying to get under Cliff Main's skin, and he makes that incredible sound with those bagpipes. Those bagpipes are Clan McLaren bagpipes, named after Michelle McLaren, who was, of course, the brilliant director, producer. She directed more episodes of Breaking Bad than anybody else, and she directed.
She's done Walking Dead, a bunch of Walking Deads.
Walking Dead.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
You never heard of it? Yeah. It's a good show. You should watch it.
I don't know. What's it about?
I don't know.
So we had to get. We figured we'd get her family tartan on
That's
the
right.
bag.
It's really amazing, but it's that attention to detail, and even though people may not, on a conscious level, understand that, I think they do get that the show is that intricate and layered, you know, on some level. But Jonathan, why didn't Mike go along with Nacho's plan and just kill Tuco in the first place?
Well, this is where, you know, you got to bring me along slowly, and this is where I trust my writers, because if it was left up to Jonathan, there would have been mass murder already.
Oh, good. She would have killed us already.
Yeah, we would have been first to go.
I would be looking for people to kill. You know, no, he's not. It's just what Vince said. He's not there yet. He's not that guy yet.
How was the fight scene to shoot?
Oh, man, Ray Cruz. Ray Cruz is such a good guy. And, you know, you're out there, and it was very warm that day. It was around 100 degrees, so we're out there, and we're doing what we're doing. But Ray, you can't, for what, 4 hours maybe?
Was that how long it was?
Yeah, I think so. I can't grab you, and we can't be doing this and this and this and this. And then finally, the skin was broken on both my wrists, you know, just from, and Ray was absolutely the consummate professional. But you just can't be that physical and not have something happen. But my double, my stuntman, Doc Dumais, he's not in there much. There's just that one shot from the back. I love doing that scene. So much of it, you're in such a cerebral place so much of the time, and when you finally get to be physical, it's just a relief. It's fun. You're a little kid, you know? You're a little kid.
Do you have it mapped? Do you guys kind of have it mapped out as to how far along in the run of the series we're going to start seeing more and more traces of the characters that we already know?
Oh, or man, I wish. That'd make life easier.
Yeah.
We're really figuring that out day by day in the writers' room. And as we record this, today was day 10 in the writers' room for season 3 of Better Call Saul, and we are figuring out as we go, which sounds scary, but that's the way we always did it in Breaking Bad as well. It's the way we did it last season before on Better Call Saul. And it's just you know, if you knew from the get-go, it would make life easier, less panic-inducing, the job, but it would, a lot of vitality would go out of it. A lot of if you have an idea in advance, you're always gonna, and you are too rigid about sticking with it, you're never gonna allow the better idea to come along to supplant the good idea that you already have. So it winds up, it's more terror-inducing the way we do it, but it winds up hopefully paying dividends.
I mean, we've talked about this before. We talked about this certainly when you guys were back when we did the season premiere, but just this layer of comedy that you guys have. So, for instance, a question from the internet, Chad Lindsay wants to know, how long did it take to edit the inflatable montage? Which was such a hilarious and amazing moment that informed so much about watching him kind of become that guy. So how do you strike the balance between gut-wrenching and like, well, it's all right to have a layer here of comedy that helps you know, keep the story moving?
Well, as for editing that sequence, we have all hail Kelly Dixon, who's our brilliant editor.
And created our podcast, too.
And
folks who listen to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Kelly.
And Kelly took Kelly Dixon, who started off on Breaking Bad as an assistant editor and is now, as I said, an Emmy-winning editor. She's brilliant, and she took I don't know how many hours of footage of Bob trying on different suits and of the flying man. What the hell is it? The tube man flying around, and she took that. And it was her inspiration to use those little boxes, and I can tell you, she spent a hell of a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
Well, now it's time to see how carefully you paid attention to tonight's episode of Better Call Saul. To take our quiz. When we come back, more interviews from the set. We're going to talk about who left the note for Mike. There's some great theories. Plus, Peter and Vince are going to tell us what to expect in Season 3. But now it's time for the quiz. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, quiz.
The scene where the young Jimmy watches his father get swindled, it was shot during Season 1. It's interesting how well it fits where it has ended up. We see that moment, and then in this season we see the mom and her last words. That's what really drives Chuck, is that the mom loved Jimmy more. And that's just never gonna leave Chuck. So we see these sort of very primal motivations for Chuck and Jimmy. It's not just some simple rivalry of an older brother and a younger brother. These guys are driven by relationships they had with their parents. And in the case of young Jimmy, it drives him crazy that his good father allows himself to be swindled. And in that moment where the con man says to Jimmy, you know, look, there's wolves and sheep in the world, that's where Jimmy goes, well, I'm going to be a wolf. I'm not going to be like my dad, because it hurts too much to watch.
Welcome back to Talking Salt. Very fancy shot with the cups. That was Bob Odenkirk talking about Jimmy's relationship with Chuck and why young Jimmy set out to be a wolf in this world and not a sheep. We're back with Peter and Vince and Jonathan, and I think it's so interesting that Chuck is the smartest person on the show, probably. He's like, I would say, academically the smartest person on the show. He's very evolved. He's very intelligent. And yet, at the core of it, it's just simple jealousy. It's like the dichotomy of those two things in his character, that's ultimately what this is all wrapped in. Would you agree with that?
I would agree. I mean, he is, he just said, he took the words right out of my mouth. There is some primal envy that dates back to, I would say, childhood, but I think Chuck is was probably at least in his early teens when Jimmy came along. But I think it's that there's that prodigal son kind of vibe that Chuck was the good boy, the good son who did everything right and studied and excelled and probably got into college at age 16 and aced all his bar exams and yet the screw-up kid, the screw-up younger brother, just gets away with murder. And we see, you know, it's a bit of a sympathy for the devil moment in this teaser. By the way, the teaser of this episode, the first teaser and first 2 acts of this last episode of the season, written by Heather Marion, our former writer's assistant, who just episode. She was a writer's assistant first 2 seasons of Better Call Saul, and now she's this is her 10th day as a writer, a staff writer.
Congratulations, Heather. Well, it was a beautifully written episode. It's a beautifully written episode. And so I also want to talk about the scene where Chuck violently hits his head in the copy shop. Yeah. How did you guys plan that?
Well, you know, we had this great copy shop location that our crew found, and I walked through what I thought should happen, and we have a brilliant stunt coordinator, Al Gatto, and Al had a pitch for me about how we could do this head, and he mocked it up with a stunt man. And we looked at what he did, and all the producers looked at it and said, we can't ask Michael McKean to do this. This looks violent. This is terrible. And Al said, no, it's actually pretty safe. And we were at a little bit of an impasse.
Pretty safe?
And it's very safe. And I said, well, can I try it? So I went over to the physical effects facility, and I got strapped into the vest.
Oh yeah, we have a clip of it.
Oh no.
Yeah,
really?
absolutely. Let's look at you in your crazy harness. And there's the fall. Much more fun in slow motion. Let's see that one more time. Just want to see it in slow motion. If you rear my face. Yeah, Yeah, it looks way worse in slow motion.
Yeah.
Looks way worse in slow motion. Now we want to find out what you guys think at home. Go to TalkingSaul.com/SaulGood and let us know. Favorite Mike moment this season? The truck heist. He used a garden hose, turned spike strip to score $250 grand. Boxing Tuco. Of course, he took some serious abuse to put a very bad man away. Or pop-up time. Like, he may be a badass, but he's a very big softie when it comes to Kaylee. Jonathan, what's your favorite type of scene to shoot for Mike?
I like the fight scenes. But I also love it when I get a 4 or 5 page monologue and I get to break out of that. I want to ask a question though.
Sure.
Because when I watch Jimmy's relationship and the brothers, and I just think about it, and the audience here and the audience out there. And I know it's a really touchy place, but familial forgiveness. About at what point do you, to save yourself, that you remove yourself and you don't forgive? And, and I don't know where I'm going with that, but when I watch the show, I wonder.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's tough.
You don't want Jimmy to be a schmuck, and yet I would lose. If not respect, I would lose some kind of love for Jimmy if he just suddenly turned his back, because his brother is kind of ill. I don't think the meanness that his brother exhibits and the envy comes from the illness. But
the brother, you got a brother. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. You also have a brother that essentially, out of that jealousy, is destroying him in many ways too.
I mean, they're kind of destroying each other in different ways. They're there's definitely a rivalry for sure. But yeah, you're right. At the core of it, though, they are brothers. And on the surface, they might react in emotional moments, but they're always, I would imagine, because it's family, they're always going to come back together. Ooh. By the way, 48% said truck heist. 48% loved the truck heist. That was our top.
Right. But
that was our most voted.
I know we got to go there. But when you say you just said because it's family, you come back to forgiveness. I guarantee you, there are people out there that have seen some really rough stuff in their families, and in order for them to survive, they sure as hell better not forgive.
All right, you know what? I think you need a hug.
Coming up, we're going to have more exclusive interviews from the cast. You won't want to...
You just did what most of the audience has been wanting to do for 5 years. Peter and Vince are going to tell us what to expect from season 3 of Better Call Saul. We'll be right back.
I'm sorry.
It's interesting with Ernie in that that's a very interesting story choice, and it's one of those great things that Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould are willing to do, which is give a character like Ernie dimension. We know Ernie is a super nice guy. He's just closer to Jimmy. I mean, they worked in the mailroom together. So he's on Jimmy's side. And I think at that moment, he feels sorry for Jimmy. He's seen Jimmy express so much love and concern for Chuck that he knows is genuine. And he wants these two brothers to stop arguing and not hate each other forever. Because if what Chuck suggests is true, then maybe it's going to be the end of their relationship.
Chris Hardwick, that was Bob Odenkirk on the moment where Ernie lies to protect Jimmy, which is a great moment, and now makes you kind of go, oh, now I want to know what Ernie's backstory is, now how he's involved in everything. We're back with Peter and Vince and Jonathan. I want to congratulate Mr. Jonathan Banks, who was just made a Doctor of Humane Letters by Indiana University recently. Congratulations, Dr. Banks, the original Banksy.
One of the most fulfilling, thrilling moments of my life, and can't really quite take it in. But that's a place that in many ways sent me here, saved my life. I could try to give back to that school and for the rest of my life, and I never would be able to give enough. So yeah, I'm very proud and I'm very touched, and I do not have words for it.
Well, that's all right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very lovely. I want to talk about this complex relationship between Kim and Jimmy, who, on paper, she should not put up with him anymore because she obviously, we practice 2 different types of law. And she even justifies concocting a way so that they can work together without actually having to be responsible for one another. So what does it mean when Kim defended Jimmy after Chuck exposed the Mesa Verde scam?
She's circling the wagons, huh?
Yeah,
and how great, by the way, are Bob Odenkirk and Ray Seahorn?
They're wonderful
They're
together.
just wonderful together.
Fantastic.
I haven't seen a relationship like that. Not on TV. I think she. The truth is that she has hitched her wagon to his, and everything she says to Chuck, I think is true, and feels real. And boy, Chuck's not used to hearing that kind of reality from her.
Although she drives her own wagon.
That's absolutely true.
Let that be said.
Well, that's true, but he was her boss.
Yeah.
He was her boss, and she had to kowtow to him for so long, and now she really lets loose with I think, the truth that she sees and that she understands. And Chuck, she gets the last word in that scene. And when I watch it, I always think, well, gee, she believes Jimmy. Jim, this is kind of great.
She hits him in the car.
And then she gets into the car and she wails on him. And I'll tell you, Bob actually refused to have any padding for that scene.
Well.
And Ray Seahorn, she can. She is strong. Have you seen those arms?
I've never been hit by her.
Yes.
I've never been hit by her.
Well, it's something we can all hope for.
But she's amazing, by the way. Ray, if you're watching, you're amazing on the show, and thank you so much for being Kim Wexler. But I don't understand. It's still difficult for me as a viewer to kind of wrap my brain around, like, well, how do they have a relationship? Because he's almost never honest with her.
But how do you figure out anyone's relationship?
All right, okay, Dr. Banks, please. But it's just like, my dad always said, in order to get out of a lie, you have to tell another lie. And his entire world is a cocoon of lies. And so we're almost getting Easter eggs when you see moments where he's honest. I mean, he can't even be honest with Kim.
Yeah.
So how did they make that relationship work?
But, I can't even figure out I've been with my lovely wife, Holly, for 25 years. Can't even remember I can't even understand my own relationship. So how do you figure out anybody else?
I guess you're right. Well, I want to take a moment to welcome the winners of the Talking Saul sweepstakes from Acura. They are here, and as a reward for their hardcore fandom, they got a trip to LA to be here for the finale tonight. They've been here for the last few days, and now one of these super fans is going to get up and ask a question. Please come on up and be heard by a jury of your peers. Thank you. What is your name?
Jeff.
Jeff, what is your question?
My question is squat cobblering a real thing? And if it's not, which one of you guys came up with that?
First of all, don't pretend like you haven't heard of it, all right?
Was the iPad a real thing before it was invented? Now it is. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Jenny Hutchison, another former assistant, who we've had a pretty good track record of.
That's true.
She's such a wonderful writer now. She wrote that episode, and Bob Odenkirk, one thing that was, it was a great scene that she wrote. Then Bob added a little extra cherry on top by suggesting to us, he said, when you have like weird sex acts, they always need a name.
Yeah.
They need some kind of slang name. So we all put our heads together, and Squat Cobbler was.
Yeah, what you came up with was this one right here.
Hoboken
the Hoboken Squat Cobbler on a T-shirt. Everyone here is going to get those. Also, you're also going to get this Don't Go to Jail book right here when it goes up. And for you personally for coming out here, not only did you win this sweepstakes, but those, by the way, are available at bettercallsaulstore.com. This is only available to you right here. I've been tape recording this entire act, so there you go. If you said anything crazy, made any confessions, we have it on tape. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Congratulations. While you're on the website buying the amazing Squat Cobbler T-shirt, be sure to get a copy of Season 1 now available on Blu-ray, loaded with special features. As I said, you guys are all going to get these. When we come back, an exclusive interview with Michael McKean, whom I adore, and he plays Chuck, of course. We're going to discuss what the note means for Mike. Plus, Vince and Peter are going to tell us what to expect from Season 3. But first, here's Patrick Fabian, who plays Howard Hamlin, on his hopes and predictions for Season 3. We'll be right back.
Hopes and predictions. I think last year I wanted Howard to become like, what, a drug runner and like dance with go-go girls. That didn't happen, but that's okay. I'm thrilled where the show's going right now. Things are really getting put into high gear, and I think Howard's going to have a lot to do with refereeing. I think at some point Howard's going to want to take Jimmy down as much as Chuck does. I'm a little mad at Kim. I got to tell you, the day that Ray Seahorn quit HHM, I really was I was hurt. As much as I was proud that she was going off her own, I was hurt. So I'll be curious to see exactly how Howard reacts to her.
what drives Chuck crazy is that people keep giving Jimmy another chance. All the times that he's screwed everybody, he still gets up on his feet and everybody goes, okay, you got me. One more, Jimmy. You only got one more chance. He blows that. Okay, you only got one more chance. I think Chuck is one of those guys who went to college very early. He got right into law school, aced his orals immediately, and wound up with the shingle at a very early age. And he did it by always making sure that all the I's were dotted and all the T's were crossed. So when he sees something as sloppy as Jimmy's approach rewarded with anything, it makes him crazy. Crazier.
Welcome back to Talking Saul. I'm Chris Hardwick. I didn't realize how loud this would be on the microphone. I'm so sorry. That was Michael McKean, who's riveting on the show, and he's talking about how Jimmy makes Chuck crazy, or crazier, as Michael puts it. I'm here with Peter and Vince and Jonathan. So is covering the place in foil and retiring just part of the whole con?
It sure looks that way. I mean, well, you know, although I gotta think...
He was sick for real, though, right?
Well, he's absolutely...
Is he sick for real? Is it psychosomatic, or do we know?
Well, listen, you know what? You guys own this as much as we do at this point once they're out there in the world. But it seems to me, you know, simple deduction would tell us that he's sick an awful lot when he's by himself, no one's watching. I think the sickness is real. Did he need Mylar over every wall in the ceiling of his living room? Perhaps not. That was a heck of a scam he seems to have played on his brother in this episode.
But he ultimately out-Jimmy's Jimmy. Because Jimmy, at the core of it, Jimmy's always slipping Jimmy. He always is, it seems like he's always going to go back to that. And his brother out-Jimmy's him. Yeah. What are some of the challenges when you're shooting in a room covered in space blankets?
It was really a lot of fun. Tony Fanning, our amazing production designer, and Arthur Albert, our wonderful director of photography, and I were talking about it because I got luckily enough, I got to direct this one. And I was worried we were going to see ourselves in the mirror effect of this Mylar. And also, I talked to Arthur, talked to Tony about, is this going to work for you guys? Is the light going to bounce around in a bad way, in a way that's not conducive to making this look good? And it turns out, it's funny, it's actually much less bright than I thought it would be. The room, in a sense, it gets blacker, except with some very bright highlights, and it leads to some beautiful photography on the part of Arthur and that he provided for us, and it's some really good-looking shots. That oddly enough, that shiny stuff, it looks mostly black on camera with a few highlights.
Well, we're going to go to our poll question right now. Go to talkingsaul.com/SaulGood and let us know, who do you think left the note on Mike's car? Yeah, some people said Nacho, but it couldn't possibly be Nacho because he was in the thing. He was in the shack. Gus Fring. So there's a huge fan theory that if you reorder all the first letters of each episode title this season, there's an anagram that spells Fring's back. That cannot be an accident. Is that an accident?
You want to take this or anyone?
That would be an amazing coincidence.
It would be a shocking coincidence.
I have to say, we underestimated the brilliance of our fans.
Never underestimate fandom. Never underestimate your fans.
They are so smart. I think that we both thought that no one would put it together until we told them that there was a hidden message in the.
So does that mean? So are you suggesting maybe that Fring wrote the note, or that Fring's going to be coming up in some episode?
Well, Fring cast a long shadow. Fring has folks working for him, and you know what? We got some really smart fans, but it doesn't mean, I would hasten to add, it doesn't mean necessarily, as you can see from this episode, you didn't see Fring in this, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't his handiwork.
Well, it says 63% of everyone thinks it's Gus Fring, so 63%. Well, you gotta give the people what they want, Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. Well, they're asking for Fring. Fring it on, I would say. Coming up. Hello, Giancarlo Esposito. Coming up, Peter and Vince are going to tell us what to expect in Season 3 of Better Call Saul. Fring, we'll be right back. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Season 3. Speaking only as a fan, I want to see Mike and Jimmy teaming up, getting locked in a ticket booth more often and arguing, because it's just fun to play those scenes with Jonathan Banks, and it's fun to watch those two together. A Batman and Robin who hate each other, and Batman is violent and might kill Robin.
This is Talking Saul. That was Bob Odenkirk on what he'd like to see in season 3 of Better Call Saul. What do you want? What do you enjoy about working with Bob? Your scenes together are pretty great.
We have a pretty good time. And it's hard to keep a straight face. I mean, Bobby does things, for Christ's sake. I'm always walking around, excuse me if I offend you, but I'll say if I'm frustrated or hurt, oh, Christ on a crutch. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my ear like that, I hear, it wasn't so much the injury, it was the recovery time. And it's Bobby off the top of his head.
Peter, Vince, what can we expect to see next season?
I think we're going to find out who wrote that note.
I hope so.
Or at least Mike will.
Yeah. And I got, again, a shout out to the amazing fans. They are so much smarter than we gave them.
True.
And that's on us, and we gave them credit for it. I want to give a shout out to one fan in particular, Dennis Unterman, a good friend of the show. Dennis just wanted to say, we're thinking about you.
Hi, Dennis. Yeah, thank you so much. And also, congratulations on an amazing season. I mean, it was to take a character that was basically a kind of a side character. He was a main character, but the focus of Breaking Bad was Walter, and to make the show such a rich tapestry with all of the characters and the intricate stories and the complexity of the characters. I mean, huge congratulations to these gentlemen and ladies who also write on the staff. Thank you so much for watching Talking Saul. Peter Gould, Vince Gilligan, Jonathan Banks. Right now, and thank you for watching this. To let us do an after show for this, for the premiere and the finale. Hopefully we'll be back next season. Stick around for an encore of Better Call Saul. Tomorrow, go to TalkingSaul.com. We're going to have bonus segments plus highlights from the show tonight. Also, make sure to join us this Sunday when we break everything down for episode 3 of Fear the Walking Dead. I'm Chris Hardwick, and I will probably talk about all of your favorite shows after they pop up. So thank you for letting me do that. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. And thanks, Bob Odenkirk, wherever you are. I don't know if you're here somewhere, but great job this year. And we'll see you hopefully next season. I'm Chris Hardwick. Oh, there's Bud. Come over here and wave hi to everyone.